make no mistake about it, the removal of subsidy on petrol was going to bring varying degrees of hard and harsh times to Nigerians. But President Bola Tinubu has talked in a highly enthusiastic and effusive way. He said the difficult phase Nigeria was going through was meant for a better tomorrow, comparing the difficulties of the pains of childbirth. They are necessary for the birth of a new nation. Cynics are afraid of a stillbirth, though I must say.
You see, these are difficult times. I don't think that many Nigerians can remember any time more difficult than this. At least there has not been any time when food prices were this costly. And you need to eat, first and foremost, before you even think of doing other things. Your survival is much more important than anything. But subsidy removal was extremely necessary to save us from fiscal collapse. We were on a fiscal cliff, and we had been warned repeatedly that at the rate we were going, if you were spending like 96% of your earnings on debt servicing, it's such a bad sign. And look at how much we were spending on subsidy. We barely had money for anything. There was a time that the former president wrote to the National Assembly to ask for as little as $1.5 billion, asked for a loan, $1.5 billion. And I'm like, this money, it's not a lot of money now. $1.5 billion. We should be able to find money for critical infrastructure, but once you pay for subsidy, there were even months that NNPC paid to remit a dime to the Federation account. So it was difficult. It was difficult. And you're obligated to service your loans. So this thing was a big problem, and Nigerians were warned that if we didn't do anything about it, that the country will go bankrupt. We'll go the way of Sri Lanka, go the way of Greece and the rest. And it was for this reason that all the presidential candidates, all the economists that I know, they wanted to say, look, subsidy had to go. Now subsidy is gone. The pains, subsidy on petroleum is gone. Subsidy on forex also gone, because to shore up supply of the dollar in the foreign exchange market, we were also subsidizing it heavily, because if the official rate stood at between 440 to 460, and it was trading at like 760 to 780 in the parallel market, it means that you are subsidizing it heavily. So part of what this government did was also to stop subsidizing the foreign exchange markets.
Good for us?
Good, because you can also use that money. They've been able to save, according to them, about maybe more than $2 billion within a short time. I think someone told me about this about middle of last month. So you can find some of the money that you need, that you can use to fix critical infrastructure without having to go take loan for virtually everything. You know? So, but how do you deal with the pains that come with these reforms?
Pains and pangs.
I was reading, I think, a Reuters report. They were predicting that they were sure that Nigeria at some point will stop these reforms, because the pains would cause the political leaders to want to push back, to say, we can't continue like this. our people are feeling so much pain. But the danger in pushing back is that it will return us to perhaps even a worse situation than we were before. Now, in countries that slip into recession, growth is usually slow, but you have to be patient. And when you experience growth, you try to manage it and ensure that it's sustainable. But you can sometimes look at the way things are going and say, can we afford to continue? So I think this is the point that he's making, that there is no quick fix for the problems facing our country. This country had been left to rot for so long. It's just like somebody coming, somebody sent a message to my Facebook page saying, Jide Shebi, you said Lagbaja is going to kill all these people. You know, because they kill soldiers. So he assumed that Lagbaja in just under 1.5 months will just solve all these security problems.
Does that tell you, Jide, does it tell you Nigerians are impatient?
Of course they are. Because I do not expect...
Rightfully so?
No, not rightfully so. It's not every problem that you can solve like you are switching on electricity. No. Okay. Problems that have been there, you have to take your time to fix the problem, to solve the problem. But to assume, for example, that bandits that we have been dealing with, that we have been fighting for so long, a chief of army staff comes in, and within 1.5 months, you expect him to have solved the problem.
No.
He solved the problem along Kaduna-Abuja highway. When was the last time that anybody had that they kidnapped people there? But we are talking about Niger. Something happened in Niger, and they say, oh, Babajide, did you not say that this man is going to wipe these people? Oh, but I never said he will wipe them off within so short a time.
Oh, yeah.
You need to be patient and watch these things happen. What's this man's name?
Which one?
This is Shekiri man who is an economist.
Rwani.
Bismarck. He said Nigeria will begin to turn the corner in the first quarter of next year. And by that time, when foreign investors have seen that there is some stability in the foreign exchange market, and the reforms that have been introduced are taking shape, they will then be coming in. Well, we need that liquidity, that dollar liquidity that they are coming in will bring. We need to solve the problem of oil theft. It's a massive problem. Nigeria cannot... OPEC gave us our quota, 1.7 million liters, barrels per day. Yeah. We cannot meet it.
Because of theft?
Yes. In the month of June, we did 1.25
barrels.
Yes, per day, on the average. In the month of July, we did 1.08, which means it was lower than the month before. So look at how much we are losing. We are the only big oil producing nation that I know that is not making money from this war, over this war in Ukraine. So if you don't fix oil theft, you don't earn enough. When you don't earn enough, you have dollar illiquidity, because that's our main foreign exchange earner.
We must also,
and when you don't earn enough, when you have dollar illiquidity, the naira will continue to slide.
And we must also solve the problem of power.
Yes, and all of this is not like somebody coming in and you assume that the next, maybe the next month, he has fixed the problem of power, electricity for everybody. No, these things take time. That is the message. But I agree that with people going through so much pain, they will be naturally impatient. They want to see results. They want to see results happen quickly.
Yeah.
And government must realize that it has that responsibility. Fix the problems as best as you can, as quick as you can. Resolve the issue of labor. you have agreed that, yes, there must be a new minimum wage. Do that quickly. Sit with the people and let them begin to see that, okay, you are solving this problem. Minimum wage, a new minimum wage comes, that will make workers happy. Workers are just, labor is just about 5% of our population.
Yeah.
But they are still critical.
They are an integral 5%.
Yes, that's why I said they are critical,
Yeah.
and you need to solve their problem.
Emeka, so yes, we have agreed Nigerians are impatient. And cynics would remind you and I that we are reaping what we sowed over time. But retooling will take a process. Are Nigerians ready to, be patient?
For how long? For how long?
Okay.
Because APC handed over to APC. That's where the problem is. If it was PDP to APC or APC to PDP, you might say, okay, maybe some policy reversals, but APC handed over to APC. If you remember under Buhari, people at a point were clamoring for the removal of the service chiefs. And look at what was happening, look at what was going on. It took him so much time to remove the service chiefs. He brought in another set, and it was the same dismal performance, failure. Until he got to the time of around, I think, Atahiru, the chief of minister who unfortunately died. There appeared to be some understanding of the critical issues, but unfortunately, before the man could really get his feet on the ground, he passed on. But what we are looking at now is that if we are asking Nigerians to be patient, one, for how long? Under Buhari, the same APC told us that Buhari was doing well, that everything was going fine. Are they now telling us that those things that were said that time, those things they said that time were false? Let people come out and really tell us that, listen, we had so much hope in Buhari, but Buhari failed. That's the, what Fela sang about paddy government. Let's stop paddy because people are hungry. People are not happy. You can't tell a hungry man to be patient. For how long? His innards are really biting him, and you're telling him to be patient. So what I'm trying to say is this. You see, nobody is expecting that anybody will get into government and perform magic. No. What we are saying is that we cannot continue with the old ways of doing things. One critical thing is Nigerians have been unanimous in calling for cutting the cost of governance, the size of government. It's not difficult to do. It's not difficult to do. But when you see governors still moving about, people in office still moving about, some with 50 vehicles, 50 SUVs in one cover, V8 engines. Do you know how many families that the fuel of one V8 engine can feed?
Yeah.
So those are the kinds of things that really make Nigerians unhappy.
Emeka, let me tease you a little.
Yes.
In the build-up to the elections, almost all the presidential candidates talked about tackling subsidy.
But in different ways, not in the same way.
Was there any way, do you think in your estimation, you could have removed subsidy on petroleum, on premium motor spirit without a backlash?
No, you see, citizens.
No, let's
situate this thing properly. Why have the 4 state-owned refineries, why are they not working? There are 20 licensees of refineries in Nigeria, including MPDC, that has the license for the 4 state-owned refineries. If we remember, one of the licensees some time ago complained on Twitter about how it had been difficult for them to really get to the point of starting operations because of massive theft, which Jide mentioned, that oil theft. So, in removing subsidy, that is one side of the argument. But the refineries must work. 2. Then 3, what kind of economic model are you pushing forward? Because you've seen what has happened. The NNPC GMD, Mele Kyari, said market forces will determine the prices. But the president, through his special advisor, came out and said, no, we cannot allow market forces only to determine this. And that was a problem. It has been a recurring problem, right from Babangida's time. Do we allow market forces to drive the economy? Do we just leave things to float like that? Should there not be any government intervention? Should this, should that? What I believe is, let us decide what kind of thing we want. It's not just about, okay, remove subsidy or do this and that. Yes, we must tackle oil theft, but we must also produce things locally, whether it is petroleum products, whether it is in the agricultural sector, whatever. Our factories must come back. You know, you talk about that a lot, textile factories. We must make deliberate efforts to bring our factories back.
So
production. You can start producing. Then
engage people.
And then export. Because there are a lot of things in Nigeria that can actually earn us a lot of export revenue. But there is a big but. The ports must be sanitized. Because the wharf rats in the ports are doing a lot of damage. Somebody was just telling me this morning about some exports they did. I think it was maybe chips or something. And they packed in the container. But by the time the container got to the country of destination, so they found out that some of the products had been pilfered. So in terms of what was declared here, when they got there, it was a different story. And then things had been tampered with. You do not drive an economy by allowing petty thieves, criminals, to sabotage the system. I kept saying government has power.
Oh, yeah.
Non-state actors cannot be stronger than the government. Yes, it may take time, but you see, some of these things are not so difficult to do. Then look at these bandits, whatever they are. There must be a definite solution because they are part of the problem why food prices are high. It's not as if government takes this produce from the farms and goes to hide somewhere. A lot of these people, those are the ones riding bikes and working as scavengers or scraps. They should go back to the farms. So whatever government is doing, choose the kind of economic model that you know will help to achieve your programs. And then Nigeria is a very poor country. We cannot pretend that we are rich. Because a country, like you said, spending 96% of its revenue on servicing debts is on life support.
That's it.
But if we can choose to continue to pretend, Nigerians are not happy. Nigerians are hungry. So whatever needs to be done must be done quickly. So that at least let there be steps, let there be action. But not just floating the naira. We must back it up with production. We must back it up with production.
And production will come if we stabilize electricity supply.
That's part of it. Yes, obviously. That's part of it.
And non-state actors becoming seemingly more powerful than government itself is frightening.
No, I don't want to believe that they are more powerful than government.
Or so it seems.
Seemingly, yes.
It doesn't. There is no evidence of that. See, in the Northeast, for example, no one would deny that there has not been tremendous progress. Before Christopher Musa left as a commander or theater commander of Operation Hadinkai, tremendous progress.
Absolutely.
These guys used to attack military bases, chase soldiers away. And I will come and talk about there are people who abuse me, pro-army people who abuse me. The soldiers hated me for that. But today we have nothing to report. If they don't overrun an army base or so-called, what they call it?
Super camps.
Super camps. Will I report it? Will I come and say that it happened? You know? But those things, improvement came. And when the heat was too much for them there, they started moving towards the north central and the northwest. So we have a big threat to deal with in the north central and the northwest now. So that is what is happening. And I believe that if the government, the new administration, I'd like to praise the last set of service chiefs. They did much better than their predecessors. And we can see now that we have improvement over there. Improvement will come in this other side too, but everyone must work hard for it. The point that we are making, what the president said is very, very correct. There is no quick fix to the problems facing our country. If we have a difficulty feeding our people, you cannot find a quick fix solution to that. Agri production must improve. That will ensure that, okay, we address the matter of food security. You know, education. So many children roaming the streets. How do we do that? we must come up with steps. And when we come up with steps that we are going to take, you don't expect to see an improvement in rapid fashion. It has to be graduated. It has to be incremental, just like that. People will see gradually that is happening. If we are talking about roads, okay, what are we doing? We now have works ministry standing alone. From the look of things now, we are earning more now. They will also have more money to work with. So that improvement will come. All that we can do is push the government harder to try to achieve some of the promises that it made.
Okay.
But there is no doubt that Nigerians can't see immediate solution to some of these problems, except they want us to go back to the subsidy era. And I don't think a government that is responsible will want to do that.
Jide, we must go. But I cannot forget at this point that the former controversial, flamboyant governor of New York in America said, politicians campaign in poetry, but rule in prose.
That's Randy Giuliani.
No, Mario
Cuomo.
Cuomo, yeah. All right, so, well, ours is just to mold opinion. I hope we have done our job. The rest is left to decision makers in the country.